People are so sensitive nowadays. I swear, you can't say anything without someone acting like you committed a crime. I wasn't attacking him. I was giving constructive criticism. There's a huge difference, but apparently nobody wants to acknowledge that anymore. I'm allowed to have standards, aren't I? I was just being honest. Would he rather I lie to his face? Pretend everything is perfect when it's not? Because that's not who I am. I've never been that person. He overreacted so dramatically, like completely out of proportion to what I actually said. But of course, I'm the one sitting outside his apartment right now, with mascara running down my face, clutching this bag he packed for me like I'm being evicted. Meanwhile, he's inside, probably feeling so righteous and justified, like he's the hero of this story. Before I get into what happened, I just need to say this. I didn't do anything wrong. Not really. Maybe my timing wasn't perfect. Maybe I could have phrased it differently, but my intentions were good. That has to count for something, right? I was trying to help our relationship. I was trying to make us better together. How is that a crime? Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. Okay, so here's what actually happened. We were at his place, having a completely normal evening. Nothing unusual, nothing tense. He made tea, we were sitting on his couch, everything was fine. Comfortable even. And I thought to myself, we're at that stage now where we can be real with each other, where we can have the hard conversations that couples need to have if they want to build something lasting. So I looked at him, tried to keep my tone light and casual, and I said something like, "Babe, we should talk about something. I mean, if we're going to be serious, you might need a gym membership first." That's it. That's what I said. And people are acting like I told him he was disgusting or worthless or something extreme like that. I didn't insult him. I didn't attack him. I opened a dialogue about self-improvement, about us both being the best versions of ourselves for each other. That's what people in healthy relationships do. He froze, literally stopped drinking his tea mid-sip, and just stared at me like I'd grown a second head. So I clarified, because obviously he was misunderstanding. I explained that I just prefer guys who are more toned, defined, gym-ready, the kind of physique that shows you care about your health and your appearance. Is that really so terrible to want? He set his cup down so slowly, like he was moving in slow motion. And then he looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before on his face. Cold, completely empty. And he said, calm as anything, "And you might need therapy before speaking to me again." I'm sorry, what? Therapy? He's telling me I need therapy for caring enough about our relationship to be honest, for having the courage to bring up something difficult, the absolute audacity, the nerve of this man. But he wasn't done. He stood up, walked to his bedroom, and came back with my overnight bag. Packed. He'd actually packed my things while I was sitting there being vulnerable with him. He pointed to the door like I'm some kind of unwanted guest and told me to leave. Just like that. After everything we'd been through, after all the time I'd invested in this relationship, he threw me out because I dared to suggest he could improve himself. And now I'm here, on the cold ground outside his building, looking like a complete disaster, and somehow I'm the villain. Let me be absolutely clear about something. I wasn't body-shaming him. Body-shaming is cruel and malicious. What I was doing was motivating him to be the best version of himself. There's a massive difference that people seem to refuse to understand. I was trying to inspire positive change. I was being a supportive partner who cares enough to push him toward improvement instead of letting him coast along being mediocre. All my friends' boyfriends work out. Every single one of them. They go to the gym, they watch what they eat, they put effort into their appearance. Why should my standards be any lower? Why should I settle for less than what I deserve just because he's comfortable being average? And honestly, I only said something because I care. If I didn't care about him, about us, I would have just kept quiet and eventually left him for someone who actually tries. At least I was communicating. Here's something that makes this whole situation even more ridiculous. I used to be overweight, significantly overweight, and he helped me lose a lot of it. He was there through my entire fitness journey, encouraging me, sometimes working out with me, helping me with meal prep. He saw firsthand how transformative it can be. He watched my confidence grow, saw how much better I felt physically and mentally. He knows the power of self-improvement. So, why is it okay for him to help me improve, but completely unacceptable for me to help him? Why is it fine when he gently suggested I might feel better if I got more active, but it's a relationship-ending offense when I suggest the same thing? The double standard is absolutely insane. Although, I have to say, my situation was different. Women gain weight more easily than men. It's biological, it's hormones, it's metabolism, it's just how our bodies work. I had legitimate reasons for being overweight. Stress from work, genetics from my mother's side, emotional eating from past issues I was working through. I had explanations, valid ones. But him? He's just comfortable. He's just lazy. There's no medical reason, no real excuse. He just doesn't prioritize his appearance. And that's a choice he's actively making every single day. I pushed myself for aesthetics, sure, but also for health, for longevity, for our future together. I wanted to be attractive for him. I wanted to be the kind of girlfriend he could be proud of when we went out together. I put in that work for us, for our relationship, for our future. And all I was asking was for the same effort in return. Is that really so unreasonable? He should want to work out for me. That's literally how relationships work. You improve yourself for your partner. You become better because you want to be worthy of their love and attraction. But I guess that concept is too mature for him to understand. I guess wanting mutual effort and mutual attraction is asking too much in this generation, where everyone thinks they deserve unconditional love, exactly as they are, without any personal growth or self-development required. Looking back now, I can see there were signs this was building up for a while. I'd made little comments here and there over the past few months. Just tiny observations, barely even criticisms really. Like one time I mentioned he'd look so much hotter if he had visible abs, which is just factual. Everyone looks better with abs. That's not opinion, that's objective reality, backed by literally every fitness magazine and movie ever made. Or another time when he got defensive about something minor, I joked that he should try lifting something heavier than his ego. It was funny. It was playful banter. Couples tease each other all the time. That's part of being comfortable together. If you can't joke around with your partner, what's even the point? And, okay, maybe there was that one time I mentioned my ex had a better body. But I was just being honest, just stating a fact, not trying to hurt him or make him jealous. How was I supposed to know he'd be so insecure about it? Confident men don't get threatened by their girlfriends' ex-boyfriends. Confident men use that information as motivation to improve themselves and be even better. They rise to the challenge instead of sulking about it. Every time I said something like that, he'd just get quiet. He wouldn't argue back, wouldn't defend himself, wouldn't even really respond. He'd just go silent for a bit and then change the subject to something else entirely. I thought he was processing the feedback, reflecting on what I'd said, maybe even planning to make changes. I didn't realize he was apparently building up resentment like some kind of emotional time bomb, just waiting for the right moment to explode. But here's the thing that's strange about this whole situation. He wasn't insecure. Not like other guys I've dated who get defensive and angry when you try to help them. He was just calm. Eerily calm, actually. And now I'm realizing he wasn't being quiet because he was hurt or feeling bad about himself. He was being quiet because he was losing respect for me. He was slowly, methodically, deciding I wasn't worth his time anymore. He was evaluating whether this relationship was worth continuing, and I didn't even know I was being tested. And apparently, his conclusion was no. Apparently, I failed some secret evaluation that I didn't even know was happening. So, when I made that comment about the gym membership, I genuinely expected a normal response. Maybe he'd laugh it off with that easy smile of his. Maybe he'd agree and say he'd actually been thinking about getting more active anyway. Maybe he'd even thank me for the motivation, for caring enough to push him. Those all seemed like reasonable, likely possibilities based on who I thought he was. What I absolutely did not expect was for him to stand there looking at me like I was a complete stranger who'd just wandered into his home uninvited, and then to say, with this perfectly calm voice that somehow made it 10 times worse, that I don't need a boyfriend, I need a therapist. I actually gasped, out loud, like something from a dramatic movie scene, because who says that to someone they supposedly love? Who weaponizes mental health like that as an insult? It was cruel. It was calculated. It was specifically designed to hurt me in the deepest way possible. But he wasn't finished destroying me yet. He continued, still in that same measured, clinical tone that made every word feel like a scalpel cutting into me. You've been criticizing me for months now. You hide your cruelty behind calling it honesty, and you genuinely think this is normal behavior. You think this is how people who love each other talk. I tried to interrupt him. I tried to explain that he was misunderstanding my intentions, that I didn't mean it the way he was taking it, that I was trying to help, not hurt. But he held up his hand, and I actually stopped talking. Something about his energy in that moment, something about the look in his eyes, made me go completely silent. I know exactly how you meant it, he said, and the way he said it, with such absolute certainty, such finality, made something cold and heavy settle in my stomach. I've watched you become more critical, more demanding, more focused on my flaws than anything else about me. And I kept hoping you'd realize what you were doing, but you don't see it. You genuinely don't see the problem. Then he walked to the door and opened it. Just stood there holding it open, waiting for me to leave like I was a guest who'd overstayed their welcome by hours. Like our entire relationship, all those months together, all those memories and experiences and intimate moments could be ended with one conversation and an open door. I should tell you about what was in that bag he packed, because somehow that detail hurts more than anything else that happened. He'd gone through my things carefully and selected exactly what to include. The sweater he bought me for my birthday last year was folded neatly in there. My toothbrush that had sat next to his in the bathroom for 3 months. My hair curler that lived on his bathroom counter. My reusable water bottle with the stupid motivational quote on it. All the practical, everyday items I'd accumulated at his place over our time together. But nothing sentimental. That's what killed me. He kept the photo strip from the arcade on his fridge, the one where we're both laughing at something stupid I'd said. He kept the silly note I'd written him after our first big fight, where we made up and promised to always communicate better. He kept the book I'd given him, with all my annotations and thoughts written in the margins, because I wanted to share my favorite story with him. Everything that had emotional weight, everything that meant something beyond practical function, he kept. He kept all of it. The symbolism was brutal, and I knew immediately it was intentional. He wasn't angry packing where you just throw stuff in randomly. This was surgical, precise. He'd thought about every single item. No note in the bag either. No letter explaining his feelings in detail, or giving me proper closure, or leaving any door open for future reconciliation, or even friendship. Just my stuff, packed efficiently and completely, ready for permanent removal. Like I was being surgically extracted from his life, with no mess, no fuss, no lasting complications or damage. I tried to step back inside. Some instinct made me move toward the doorway, like if I could just get back into his space, we could talk this through properly, we could fix it, we could make him understand what I really meant. But he actually blocked me. He put his arm across the doorframe and physically prevented me from entering his home. And he said, in that same calm voice that was somehow worse than yelling. Come back when you know how to talk to people like they're human beings you actually care about. Then he closed the door. I heard the deadbolt lock click into place with this final, absolute sound. That click felt like the period at the end of a sentence. No room for negotiation or discussion or continuation. Just done. Complete. Over. I stood there for probably 5 full minutes just staring at his door, waiting for it to open again, waiting for him to change his mind, waiting for this to somehow not be real. I kept thinking he'd cool down, realize he overreacted, open the door and apologize, and we could talk about this like adults. But the door stayed closed, the deadbolt stayed locked, and slowly reality started to sink in. So, now I'm sitting here on the cold concrete ground, with my stupid packed bag next to me, and my ruined makeup, and the stares of strangers passing by, and this is actually my life right now. This is actually happening. I got dumped, thrown out, rejected completely, and supposedly it's all my fault for wanting him to be better. The craziest part, the part I truly cannot wrap my head around, is that I was only trying to help him. I was invested enough in our future together to risk an uncomfortable conversation. I cared enough to be honest, instead of silently losing attraction and just leaving one day with no explanation like so many people do. I was being a good partner by communicating my needs and expectations clearly instead of expecting him to read my mind. Men should be grateful when women push them to improve themselves. Most guys go through their entire lives with nobody telling them the truth about how they could be better. They stay stuck in mediocrity and wonder why they're not as successful in relationships or careers as they could be, and it's because everyone around them is too polite or too scared to give real, honest feedback. I was offering him a gift, really. The gift of honest reflection and the opportunity to become more attractive, more desirable, more worthy of a quality partner. But instead of gratitude, I got dumped. Instead of appreciation for my honesty and investment, I got told I need therapy. Instead of him working on himself like any reasonable person would, he decided I was the problem and removed me from his life like I'm some kind of toxic element contaminating his existence. He shouldn't have taken it so seriously. It was just honesty. It was just a suggestion, one comment, one piece of feedback. It wasn't an attack or an ultimatum or a judgment of his entire worth as a human being. It was one comment about one aspect of his life that could be improved for the benefit of both of us. Why did that deserve such a nuclear response? Why did that justify ending everything we'd built together? My phone keeps buzzing with texts from friends asking what happened, because apparently he already told his friends, and now everyone knows we broke up, and everyone's probably taking sides right now. Great. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. Now I get to be the villain in everyone's story. Now I get to be the shallow girlfriend who dumped her boyfriend for not having abs, even though that's not what happened at all. I didn't dump him. He threw me out. I was trying to improve our relationship. He decided to end it completely. But nobody will see it that way. Nobody ever sees the woman's side in these situations. We're always the demanding ones, the high-maintenance ones, the impossible-to-please ones. Never mind that we're just asking for basic effort and mutual attraction. Never mind that we're trying to build something real that requires both people to show up at their best and continuously improve. I should probably get up off the sidewalk. People are definitely staring now, and I can feel my dignity eroding with every passing minute I sit here like some kind of rejected puppy. But something keeps me frozen in this spot, like if I leave here, I'm accepting that it's really over, that he really meant every word he said, that there's genuinely no going back from this. Maybe he'll cool down in an hour or two and call me. Maybe he'll realize he overreacted in the heat of the moment and apologize for being so harsh. Maybe he'll see that I was trying to help and that my intentions were good, even if my delivery was imperfect. People say things they don't mean when they're angry, right? Maybe this is just that. Maybe tomorrow, We'll laugh about how dramatic this all was. Or maybe, and this thought creeps in, unwanted and uninvited, maybe he meant every single word. Maybe he's been feeling this way for weeks or months and was just waiting for the right moment to end things. Maybe my honesty was just the final straw in a massive pile of grievances I didn't even know existed. But even if that's true, even if he really wanted this relationship to end, I still don't understand why everyone's acting like I'm the villain here. I had standards. I communicated them clearly. That's healthy. That's mature. That's how functional adults handle relationships. You don't just accept whatever you get and pretend everything is fine when it's not. You speak up, you ask for what you need, you push your partner to be better. My legs are getting completely numb from sitting on this cold concrete, but I still can't make myself stand up and leave. Where would I even go? Back to my apartment to sit alone and replay this entire disaster over and over. To a friend's house to hear them all tell me different versions of how I messed up and what I should have done differently. None of those options sound even remotely appealing right now. The sun is setting now, casting these long shadows across the parking lot, and I'm still here clutching this bag like it contains the remnants of my dignity instead of just a toothbrush and a hair curler, still trying to make sense of how wanting someone to be their best version makes me the bad guy in the story, still wondering when having standards became unreasonable and when honesty became cruelty. My best friend Sarah finally calls after I've ignored like 6 texts from her. I answer because I know she won't stop until I do. "What happened?" she asks immediately. "Jake's roommate texted saying you guys broke up." "He threw me out," I say, and my voice sounds strange even to my own ears. Hollow. "Because I suggested he get a gym membership." There's a long pause on the other end. Too long. And when Sarah speaks again, her voice has this careful quality to it that I don't like. "What exactly did you say to him?" "Nothing bad. I just said if we're going to be serious, he might want to consider getting more toned. That's it. That's literally all I said." Another pause. Then, "That's all? You're sure?" "Why does everyone keep acting like I committed some horrible crime?" I snap. "I was being honest. I was trying to help." "Okay," Sarah says slowly, "but didn't he help you lose weight last year? Like, he was really supportive through your whole fitness journey." "That was different," I say automatically. "I had actual reasons for being overweight. He's just lazy." "How is that different?" Sarah asks, and something in her tone makes me uncomfortable. "It just is. Women's bodies are different, Sarah. You know that." "Right," she says, but she doesn't sound convinced. "And you've been making comments about his body for a while now, haven't you? I remember you mentioning his appearance like 3 or 4 times when we hung out last month." "I was joking around. Couples tease each other." "Do they?" Sarah asks. "Because Tom doesn't make comments about my body. Like, ever. Even when I specifically ask him if something makes me look fat, he refuses to critique my appearance." "That's different," I say again, but I'm starting to feel defensive and I don't know why. "How?" Sarah presses. "How is it different?" I don't have a good answer for that, so instead I say, he completely overreacted. He packed my stuff and threw me out over one comment. "One comment tonight," Sarah says gently. "But how many comments total over the past few months?" I open my mouth to argue, but then actually think about it. The abs comment, the thing about lifting more than his ego, mentioning my ex's body. That time I said he should come to the gym with me with this pointed look. That other time, I grabbed his stomach and made a joke about it. All those little moments that seemed insignificant individually, but now, strung together in my memory, they form this pattern I don't want to look at too closely. "I was trying to motivate him," I say, but my voice sounds weaker now. "Or maybe you were just being mean," Sarah says, and calling it honesty doesn't change what it was. We hang up shortly after that because I can't handle her questions anymore, can't handle the way she's making me doubt myself. But her words keep echoing in my head. Was I being mean? No. No, I was being honest. There's a difference, isn't there? I finally forced myself to stand up, my legs protesting from sitting in one position for so long. I pick up the bag and start walking toward my car. Each step feels heavier than it should, like I'm wading through water, like gravity has increased since this morning when I drove here expecting a completely normal evening. As I'm unlocking my car, a memory hits me suddenly. From maybe 2 months ago. We were at dinner with his friends and one of them made some self-deprecating joke about his own appearance. Everyone laughed, including me, but then I said, "At least you go to the gym though," and looked pointedly at my boyfriend. Everyone got quiet, really quiet, and he just smiled tightly and changed the subject. I remember feeling satisfied in that moment. Like, I'd made my point publicly, and now he'd have to do something about it. But now, sitting in my car, I think about how that must have felt for him. Being called out in front of his friends, being compared unfavorably, being humiliated by someone who was supposed to love him. Oh God. Another memory surfaces, his birthday 3 months ago. I got him a gym membership as his gift. At the time, I thought it was thoughtful, practical, showing him I cared about his health. But now I'm remembering his face when he opened it. That forced smile. That quiet thank you that didn't quite reach his eyes. The way his friend Marcus raised his eyebrows and gave him this sympathetic look. I thought he was just being weird about birthdays or something. But he wasn't, was he? He was hurt, he was embarrassed. And I didn't even notice because I was so convinced I was doing the right thing. More memories start flooding back now, unstoppable, each one recontextualizing everything I thought I knew about the past few months. The time I joked that I needed to start covering his eyes during movie sex scenes so he wouldn't feel bad about his own body. The time I asked if he was sure he wanted dessert with that pointed look. The time I said my friend's boyfriend looked so fit right after he'd asked me how I thought he looked in a new shirt. The time I told him I'd be more attracted to him if he put in more effort with his appearance. Oh my God, what have I been doing? I think about how patient he was when I was losing weight, how he never once made me feel bad about where I was starting from, how he celebrated every small victory without ever pointing out how far I still had to go, how he made me feel beautiful even when I felt disgusting, how he focused on my health and happiness, never my appearance for his benefit. And what did I do? The second I felt confident in my own body, I started tearing his down. I started making him feel the way I used to feel before I lost the weight, except worse, because it was coming from someone who was supposed to love him unconditionally. I'm crying now, really crying, not just the mascara-streaked tears from before, but actual sobbing. Because I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see what he saw, what Sarah was trying to tell me, what probably everyone around me has been noticing, but was too polite to say. I wasn't being honest. I was being cruel. I wasn't motivating him. I was tearing him down to build myself up. I wasn't setting standards. I was setting traps he could never win, because the point wasn't improvement. The point was keeping him feeling less than so I could feel superior. When did I become this person? I remember who I was when we first started dating. I loved everything about him, his laugh, his kindness, his intelligence, the way he made me feel safe and valued and seen. His body was just his body. It housed all the things I actually loved about him. When did that stop being enough? When did I decide his worth was tied to his appearance? It was after I lost the weight, wasn't it? After I started getting more attention, more compliments, more validation from strangers. I started comparing him to other people instead of loving him for who he was. I started seeing him as a reflection of me instead of as his own complete person. I started treating him the way I'd been terrified he'd treat me when I was overweight, the way he never actually did. The therapy comment. He said I need therapy before speaking to him again. At the time, it felt like an insult, a weapon, but now I'm wondering if it was actually genuine advice. If he could see something in my behavior, some pattern of criticism and cruelty that I couldn't see myself. Some need to hurt people under the guise of helping them. Is that what I do? Make people feel small and call it honesty. Destroy their self-esteem and call it motivation. Damage relationships and call it having standards. My phone buzzes again. A text from an unknown number. It takes me a minute to realize it's his friend Marcus. He really loved you, you know, the text reads. He talked about you all the time, showed us pictures constantly, was planning to propose at Christmas, but he said watching you become more critical was like watching someone he loved slowly disappear. He kept hoping you'd realize what you were doing. Tonight was just the breaking point. He deserves someone who loves him as he is, not someone who treats him like a renovation project. Planning to propose. At Christmas. That's 3 weeks away. He was going to propose to me, and instead, I drove him away by systematically destroying his confidence and self-worth under the guise of wanting him to be better. Better for what? Better for whom? He was already good. He was already enough. More than enough. And I couldn't see it because I was too busy projecting my own insecurities onto him. I think about that bag he packed, how he kept all the sentimental items and only packed the practical ones. At the time, I thought it was cruel, calculated, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe he kept those things because he still loves those memories, even if he can't be with me anymore. Maybe he kept them because they remind him of who I used to be before I became someone who makes the person she loves feel worthless. The sweater he bought me was in that bag. I pull it out now and look at it. It's this soft lavender color that he said brought out my eyes. He spent hours shopping for it because he wanted to find the perfect gift. He was so excited when he gave it to me, so proud of himself for choosing well. And I wore it twice, maybe, before deciding it wasn't really my style. How many thoughtful gestures did I dismiss? How many times did he try, and I didn't appreciate it because I was too focused on what he wasn't doing, what he wasn't being. I need to fix this. I need to go back up there and apologize and explain that I see it now, I understand, I'll change, I'll be better, I'll be the person he fell in love with again. I can fix this. But even as I think it, I know it's too late. You can't unsay months of criticism. You can't undo the systematic erosion of someone's self-esteem. You can't apologize your way out of a pattern of cruelty that you called love. He said, come back when I know how to talk to people like they're human beings I actually care about. Not come back and apologize, or come back when you're less angry. Come back when I've fundamentally changed the way I treat people. When I've done the work to understand why I thought any of this was okay. Maybe he was right about the therapy, not as an insult, but as actual advice. Because something in me is broken if I thought this was how you treat someone you love. Something in me needs fixing if I genuinely believed I was helping when I was actually hurting. Something in me is so insecure that I can only feel good about myself by making someone else feel bad. I sit in my car in his parking lot for another hour, just thinking, really thinking, maybe for the first time in months, about my behavior and my choices and who I've become. And I don't like what I see. I don't like this person who hides cruelty behind honesty, who mistakes criticism for care, who tears people down and calls it motivation. Sarah was right. I wasn't being honest. I was being mean. And all my justifications, all my explanations about standards and communication and wanting the best for him, they were just ways of avoiding the truth. The truth that I was treating someone I claimed to love with cruelty and disrespect. The truth that I was becoming someone he couldn't love anymore because I wasn't someone worthy of love. When did honesty become my excuse for every hurtful thing I wanted to say? When did having standards become my justification for treating someone like they weren't enough? When did I start believing that love meant trying to change someone instead of accepting them? He helped me lose weight, yes, but he never once made me feel like I had to in order to earn his love. He never gave me his love conditionally, pending improvements. He loved me as I was while supporting who I wanted to become. And I loved him conditionally. I loved the idea of who he could be if he just changed everything I decided needed changing. That's not love. That's not even close to love. I finally start my car and pull out of the parking lot. I don't know where I'm going exactly. Not back to his door because that won't fix anything, and I'd just be doing it to make myself feel better, not because it's what he needs. Maybe to Sarah's house. Maybe to my apartment to sit with this uncomfortable realization. Maybe, eventually, to a therapist's office like he suggested, because he was right. I do need therapy. Not because I'm broken beyond repair, but because I've developed patterns of behavior that hurt people, and I've convinced myself those patterns are virtues. I need to understand why I do this, why I criticize people under the guise of caring, why I make people feel small and call it honesty, why I couldn't just love someone good exactly as he was. The road ahead is blurry through tears. I'm finally letting myself cry fully, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I'm not crying because I'm angry, or because I feel wronged, or because I think he overreacted. I'm crying because I finally see what I did. I finally understand what I lost. And I finally realize it was entirely my fault. I was the villain in this story. Not him. Me. And that might be the most honest thing I've let myself think in months.